And I remember sort of listening to what he was saying and deciding, stop being so damn likeable, will you, Colin? Hi, this is Mike. Welcome to my vlog about football in general and Burnley FC in particular. A vlog that refuses to pander to the YouTube algorithm by having a thumbnail which includes a still of me pulling a fake expression as shock at what I'm seeing. This weekend saw the visit of Huddersfield, a team at the bottom end of the league table, and a much needed respite after a tricky run of fixtures. The winning run ended with that last minute equaliser at home to Watford. Then we had a hard fought away win in literally someone's back garden at Luton, followed by a draw at a Millwall side who had just knocked off Sheffield United. So of course the latter was greeted in some circles as 2 points dropped. I mean, honestly, some people, if Clarets were 5-0 up at half-time away at Wembley against Rovers in a cup final, these people would be on Twitter complaining about the price of the half-time pie. But 35 points out of a possible 39 has become 38 out of 42, and it does present a problem. I tried to write in words to describe the first half hour on Saturday, but nothing really fit. It wasn't able to put it down in words and sentences. If I had to describe it, it would simply be a succession of appreciative noises and applause. Clarets were utterly magnificent. The result was never in doubt, and it was never a question of how, but how many. I don't think I've seen such a complete first half performance from any team as I saw on Saturday, and it was absolutely magnificent from front to back. Huddersfield, they are a struggling side. They are near the bottom, but there was no team that could have faced that. There was no team that could have done anything about that. It was like trying to put your hands on a buzzsaw. Burnley was simply keeping the ball, moving it around. I'm sure there was about a 5-minute spell where Huddersfield maybe touched the ball 3 times, and 2 of those were from a goal kick. And it's not that Huddersfield were bad, it was just absolute domination from Burnley. It actually occurred to me at half-time, this must be how a Man City fan feels. Though obviously not in the Champions League. I even got to the point where I had sympathy for the Huddersfield players and for Neil Warnock, who had been complimentary before the game, was not his usual yelling at his players self during it. He knew what he was dealing with and he was complimentary afterwards. And I remember sort of listening to what he was saying and deciding, stop being so damn likeable, will you, Colin? Special mention to Josh Colin, who I thought was absolutely fantastic. And I don't use this comparison lightly. He was almost Kante-esque in the way that he would pick the ball up no matter where it needed to be on the pitch and then simply recycled it for Clarets to start again. I don't think I've seen a midfield performance so damn tidy as I did from Colin on Saturday. His ability to be in the right place at the right time and to do the right thing. It reminded me of Jack Cork at his best, and again, I'm being complimentary there. I think we found the replacement for Jack Cork, and I didn't think I'd even say that, because Cork's ability to tidy up and do the right thing, the showy, the unspectacular thing, is massively underappreciated by fans of other clubs who don't realise what he does. And to see Josh Cullen doing that in the same way gives me massive confidence for the future. I cannot believe that we got him for as little as we did out of Anderlecht. This is a guy who's been passed over by Watford, by West Ham, and that's probably a symptom of the British game, because he's just not, a big player, he's not a strong player, he's not the tallest player, he just plays the game in his head. And as I say, it's an indictment of the English game that players like that often get looked over in favour of someone who can run about a lot and put themselves about a bit. Speaking of which, Ashley Barnes dropping back, feeding the ball in a way that makes the nickname of the Somerset Pearl not entirely sarcastic for once. He's been on an amazing run of form. He has fitted in, he has got what Company is trying to do. And that's kind of a surprise given his struggles at the start of the season. We all thought he was done and dusted, but he has just been not only brilliant for the last few weeks, but also taken on a leadership role, which, you can see that he's encouraging the younger players around him, and he's settled into it. Maybe it's surprised him, it certainly surprised me, but it's fantastic to see. Zarori back to having fun on the wing, JBG pulling the strings, and then you've got Halmar Ekdal sliding through balls through for fun like a Paolo Maldini or whatever. It's total football in a way that will make Johan Cruyff weep with joy, and I just don't want this season to end. But we do have a bit of break from it, and I have to admit that I have been diagnosed with a strong case of cup fever, and the prescription is definitely not more cowbell. Fleetwood are in town on Wednesday for a cup match that, should the Clarets go through, leaves us one match away from Wembley. It's a game we should be able to win in the 90 minutes, and indeed, given the mounting injury list, I think we need to win it in the 90 minutes. As for a lineup, I'd like to see Foster, Twine, Alderkeel, and probably Vitinho given a run out. Probably Jack Cork's going to come in. One of Colin or Brownhill will be rested. I'd like to see Bastian again. This is a game that we have the opportunity to put a second string out for and still progress. And I don't mean a second string in a Dyche-esque way, where it's like, oh whatever, just get it out of the way. The second string should be good enough to see off a Fleetwood Town side from a lower division, especially at home, and especially if we get a cracking atmosphere going. And then who knows, we're at the mercy of the draw. You've got some decent teams left in it. You've got Man United, you've got Man City, you've got Spurs. They all have to get through. But then you've also got some potentials. You've got Leicester, Fulham, Leeds. Get one of them at the turf on in the sixth round, and who knows what can happen. You know, perhaps we can actually make it to a Wembley semi-final for the first time in living memory, I think. But that would be an absolutely amazing thing. But who knows, because football's got a habit of throwing up stuff, and you just know that narrative, especially in the FA Cup, becomes ever more important. So that means Man City, you've got company against Guardiola, or the one that I'm worried about, which is Man United, which is basically Weghorst coming back. Now Weghorst, League Cup winner, Carabao Cup winner. He seems to be settling into Man United pretty well. They seem to be working pretty well. He hasn't scored, which means all his detractors get to complain about him not scoring, but he seems to be actually fitting in very well there, as people like myself knew that he really would. And that's fine, because all that does is put more zeros on the end of his transfer fee when it comes in the summer. Because the way he's playing, €10 million is an absolute bargain. That's the price we were going to get out of him. Out of Besiktas. Man United, well, they can pay 15 if they want to, and I'd quite happily take that. Though obviously if he had to come back, I don't think that's a bad thing. I've said that before. You do get those people who think that just because he said a few things on the way out that were absolutely 100% accurate, that he shouldn't ever pull on a Burnley shirt. He disrespected the club. No, he didn't disrespect the club at all. He just said things that were absolutely true. We're already agreed with the club, and then he went off, and it all worked out for everybody, and it seems to be continuing to work out for everybody. And like I say, if we can get an extra 5-7 million quid out of what we were going to get, I don't see that as a bad thing, especially when we've got players like Foster or Bafemi, maybe even Ashley Barnes. I don't know. Does the guy deserve another contract for a year? If you'd have said that at the start, if you asked me that at the start of the season, I'd have probably said no, while laughing. But, you know, I'm not too sure now. Can he still cut it in the Premier League? He can certainly cut it in this team. And can this team cut it in the Premier League? Well, looks like we're about to find out. The magic number, by the way, is 6. If we have 6 more wins, then we are promoted. We have 5 winnable games coming up, and the 6th one is away at Borough. And that would absolutely confirm it. If we were to make it 6 out of 6 against Borough, then that would mathematically put us up. And then the one after that is Sheffield United at home. That would probably get us the title. Is it greedy to ask for stuff like that? I don't think so. I think this team is capable of doing it, because the record was 10 consecutive wins, and we almost did it. We've got 14 games left. You look at it, we only have to play Sheffield United, Borough, Blackburn and Sunderland in the top half, and I think we can do that 11 wins. It's a definite possibility. It's not going to be easy, but it's a definite possibility. But if they get distracted by the fact that they're playing in a Wembley semi-final, well, that's the price I'm prepared to pay. So that's it for this week. Pretty short one, but if you have any comments, any questions, any feedback, please leave them below and I will do my best to answer them. If you like this, click like. If you really liked it, click subscribe and tell everyone you know about this vlog, and I will see you on the next one.